Good day, everyone. This is our topic for this video, Learner-Centered Learning Theories. I am Dr. Erwin R. Abrencilio. So for our learning outcomes, explain the basic principle of the different theories of learning. Second, determine how to use rewards in the learning process more effectively. Third, explain Tolman's purposive behaviorism. Fourth, explain Bandura's social learning theory. Fifth, give specific application of each theory in teaching. So for our lesson outline, we will be discussing first behaviorism, connectionism, then cognitivism, constructivism. So let us now begin. Um, Under behaviorism, it assumes that the learner is essentially passive, simply responding to their environmental stimuli. So when we speak of environmental stimuli, it is anything that can catch their attention. So anything that are happening outside or in the environment could serve as a stimuli to them. Um, Behavioral theorists therefore believe that a learner basically begins as a clean slate. When we speak of a clean slate, they do not know anything at all. And their behavior is shaped by positive, negative reinforcement. So that means, that whatever the behavior is, it is because of the positive and negative reinforcement given to them. So again, this is under behaviorism. And I am sure that since majority of you have taken perhaps psychology subjects, no, and or some philosophy subjects, this is not a new term to you. No, this is not a new topic to you. So let us proceed. Focuses on the study of observable and measurable behavior. So when we speak of observable, so those things that can be perceived by the senses, since we are using our senses in observing things, and measurable. So that means that there is a gauge wherein this behavior can be measured. So, under the same theory, it emphasizes that behavior is mostly learned through conditioning and reinforcement, and that is rewards and punishment. So, as a future teacher or as a teacher, no, so we have to ensure that there is really that reward system in our classroom, so that the behavior can be reinforced. Though punishment may contradict to some definite order, or it can also contradict with some of the basic laws in the country. So does not give much attention to the mind and the possibility of thought processes occurring in the mind. So less attention when it comes to what is happening in the mind of the students, but it is more into the behavior of the students. Okay, so the proponents of these are Ivan Pavlov, Watson, Thorndike, and Skinner. Now, I hope that you can be able to grasp why there is a need to discuss first learning theories. For sure, if you are an education student and you are watching this video, no, it is expected that for you to be able to learn more about facilitating learner-centered teaching, one of the things that you should learn first are those learning theories that are essential in learner-centered teaching. And all of these things that I am talking right now are actually essential in a learner-centered teaching. Another one is connectionism. So learning theory developed by George Siemens and Stephen Downes. So the knowledge is out there, according to them. It is a matter of making the connections. So when we teach our students, there are a lot of knowledge, no? There are a lot of topics, contents that we can share with them. That depends on your field of specialization. If you are specializing in science, then you are sharing knowledge about science. Or if you are specializing in mathematics, then you're sharing with them mathematical concepts. Now, uh, especially right now, no, it is pandemic, and the number one source, well, you can argue with me in this particular notion that the number one source of knowledge right now is in fact the internet. Yes, teachers are there, books are there, but still, majority of those knowledge that we can take, no, will come from the internet. You search for ebooks, you search for YouTube tutorials, you search for anything under the sun. No, so the knowledge is just out there. But the problem is, how can you be able to get that knowledge, and how can you connect that knowledge in your own perspective? Okay, so that means, um, as stated in this theory, it is a matter of making connections. So why it is a matter of making connections? Because uh, for students to learn the content or the topic that you are discussing to them, that content or topic should be closer to their experiences. No, so you have to connect your topic with those things that can be experienced or know by your students. So do not just talk about mall, for example, or give examples of a mall, of a shopping mall. If let's say you are teaching in a far away part of the province wherein there's no shopping mall there, so they cannot just picture it out what it looks like. So you have to contextualize, you have to localize your examples so that there will be connections. So according to Shemens in 2004, a community is the clustering of similar areas of interest that allows for interaction, sharing, dialoguing, and thinking together. So it also follows the notion that um, it takes a village to raise a child. So it takes a community, the entire community, to raise a child. So that means that the community can help, no, so that the formation of the learning of the students will be maximized. So that's why it is the community that provide the interaction, the sharing, the dialoguing, and thinking together. So there are connections even in the community. So one of the famous um, proponent of this theory is Edward Lee Thorndike. So it gave us the original SNR framework of behavioral psychology. So SNR, if you can still remember, this is the stimuli response framework. So it explained that learning is the result of associations forming between stimuli and responses. And the model for SNR theory was trial and error learning, in which certain responses came to be repeated than others because of rewards. Okay, so just imagine in the modern times, for you to be able to train a dog, like you'll tell them, okay, sit, play dead, roll over, and so on and so forth. So there is that small amount of food on your hand, and then after a successful trick, you have to give it to the dog. So that's the reward. So that the dog can will always repeat what you are telling them to do. So in case of humans, in case of learners, so that the stimuli, no, will have the same response, there should be reward. Okay. So Thorndike theory on connectionism stated that learning has taken place when a strong connection or bond between the stimuli and response is formed. So because of that, he was able to came up with three primary laws. And these are the law of readiness, the law of exercise, and the law of effect. Now, let us talk first about law of readiness. So he said that more readiness the learner has to respond to the stimuli or stimulus, the stronger will be the bond between them. And when a person is ready to a stimulus and is not made to respond, it becomes annoying to the person. Okay, so for example, when you ask questions to your students, do you expect them to answer immediately? So there are cases for sure, even in case na when you are the students in a certain class and your teacher asks you to answer a certain question. So the teacher will tell you, okay, Mr. Yu, kindly answer this question. So why, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So then the student might, hello, I can't answer that immediately. So because the student's not yet ready. So that's the reason why whenever we ask questions to our students, we have to pause for a while and wait for them to be ready. Okay, of course, it will not take long. No, you will not wait for 1 hour because, well, 1 hour is the usual encounter time in one subject. So you cannot just wait for 1 hour. Just give. No, you have to prepare the mind of the students that you are already starting the lesson. So you might observe teachers who will come to class like, okay, sit properly, pick up the pieces of paper, remove all the things on your desk, and then get your notebook, and so on and so forth. So that is a signal that the teacher is preparing the class for another new lesson. Okay, so um, because you cannot just get inside the classroom and then, okay, class, good morning, get one fourth and we'll have a quiz. No, you are not yet teaching and yet you are giving quiz. So the students are not yet ready. Okay. So another is law of exercise. So the more an SR stimuli response bond in practice, the stronger it will become. Many of us are, or many of us during elementary days were able to memorize the multiplication table. And for sure, when you were in high school, you were able to memorize the periodic table of elements, the capital city of each country, the different places in the Philippines. What are the provinces under Region 1 up to Region 12, for example. So how did you learn those things? Because you keep on memorizing, you keep on practicing that. So the more SNR bond in practice, the stronger it will become. So when you want to memorize something, when you want to learn something, and so that it will be retained to you, so you have to keep on doing it. Like for example, back in the days when you were able to recite the multiplication table. So every meeting, your teacher in mathematics will always call each of your classmates, including you, to recite one table. Let's say today you will recite table one. 1 times 1 equals 1, 1 times 2 equals 2. And then up to ninth day, so it's 9 times 1, 9 times 2, 9 times 3, and so on and so forth. And then it will be repeated. And every now and then, there will be drills on multiplication. So you'll be able to learn. And then your teacher will tell you na it is very applicable in your daily life. And then when you buy in the store, when you are doing something, as long as there is number there, you can be able to use multiplication. So there is a practice there. So back in high school, you were able also to recite the periodic table. So how did you do it? So you keep on practicing. So that's the law of exercise. So that's why in a certain context, for your students to be able to maximize learning in your class, you have to provide a lot of activities so that there will be exercises, so that there will be retention, so there will be learning. Okay. So one good example is when you are, if you would like to learn how to drive a car, you have to practice. No, you cannot just say na you'll go to the LTO and then you'll get your license without passing all those tests. No, like practice driving and so on and so forth. Or if you would like to become good or excellent in playing basketball, you cannot just play games in your cell phone, basketball games, but you have to go out there and then you have to play an actual basketball. Though in our situation right now, it is not allowed because of the pandemic. Now, law of effect. A connection between a stimulus and response is strengthened when the consequence is positive, and the connection between the stimulus and the response is weakened when the consequence is negative. So in this example, so you have to look into the consequence. What will be the effect of the connection between stimuli and the response? What will be the reward? So in case of the classroom setting, so let's say for example, your students show this particular behavior. What will be the reward? If your student will show this particular behavior which is negative, what are you going to do about it? So that's the law of effect. Now, so principles derived from Thorndike's connectionism. One, learning requires both practice and rewards. Okay, you cannot. That's why every now and then in facilitating learner-centered teaching, no, there should be a lot of activities since this is learner-centered. So that's the law of exercise. And then you have to give reward. It could be a tangible reward. No, it could also be by means of posting the name of the students who were able to submit on time. Um, you can even post that in your social media, like you are awarding someone. Okay, so that they know that they are being appreciated and recognized. Now, a series of SNR connections can be chained together if they belong to the same action, which is the law of readiness. And transfer of learning occurs because of previously encountered situations. So one thing, no, before we start a new lesson, we always recall previous lesson that are connected to the new lesson, that are wherein the learners are familiar. So for example, you have your new lesson, and then you have, in order for you to introduce the new lesson, you have to use an old lesson that are wherein your students are familiar with, and then you have to connect the old lesson to the new lesson. Okay, so that they can be able to get the connection between the old lesson and the new lesson. So in that case, they will be able also to see that I need to learn this so that I can learn more. So in that case, there will be continuity of learning, and the students will find it easy to understand the new lesson because of the old concept that they have learned. And if the students were not able to learn the previous lesson, then it will be difficult for them to study the new lesson. Now, intelligence is a function of the number of connections learned. So the more a learner connects the knowledge that they have gained to another things, so therefore they are more intelligent. Correct. So let's talk about behaviorism, as discussed by Tolman and Bandura. Okay, so Tolman's purposive behaviorism and Bandura social learning. So these are only selected, no, um, because you might ask, where is this man? Where is that man? I don't think that these are the only people wherein we should study. But then again, these are selected. Okay, so For Tolman's purposive behaviorism, referred to as sign learning theory and is often seen as a link between behaviorism and cognitive theory. So Tolman's believes that learning is a cognitive process. So when we speak of cognitive process, we're talking about the knowledge part, the mind part. Okay, so that means that learning is a process that are done by the brain or by the mind. So learning involves building belief in the acquisition of knowledge about the environment and then the discovery of knowledge through purposeful and objective behavior. Now, a learning theory that was in response to behaviorism, according to Tolman, this is the learning theory that was taught in developing online education using Bloom's taxonomy. Now, online education is not new, no? It was just highlighted during the pandemic times wherein almost everyone, no, in the field of education utilized online education or distance learning education, and one of them is the online learning. Now, Bloom's taxonomy, I'm sure that you are very much familiar with Bloom's, no? So these are our guide, no? The taxonomy is our guide whenever we make objectives, no? The the basic, the knowledge part, then the comprehension, and so on and so forth. Though there's already the revised Bloom's taxonomy done by Cratwell and Anderson. Now, examples of cognitivist strategies for learning higher level thinking are starting a lesson with the hope to create interest. So these are all online. No? A review quiz to promote prior learning. Now, you might ask, from time to time, your teacher will ask you before the start of the new lesson to get okay, class, get one fourth sheet of ad paper. You might ask one fourth po, but you might also ask, no, that the one that your teacher will ask you to answer was the previous lesson. Okay, then again, this will be connected to the new lesson. Using learning outcomes, chunking content into organized bite-sized pieces. If there are a lot, if you think that your topic is quite huge, no, or it's quite complex, it's vague, it's abstract, so you have to cut it into small chunks. It's like you are eating a big bread, no, a large bread, and it cannot fit your mouth. So you have to cut it and then take the small piece of bread, no, bite per bite, so that you can be able to consume it all and not putting everything in your mouth. So same thing as with our students, no, they cannot learn a lot of content in just one sitting. So you have to cut it into bite-sized pieces. Using graphic organizers, well, as teachers, no, I'm sure that you're familiar with that, using graphic organizers, and the student takes on an active role on learning. So in this case, this is actually facilitating learner-centered already, because the teacher is the one facilitating it, and you give encouragement, you give positive feedback on the output done by the students. So that's the reason why it is stated there that the student takes on an active role on learning. So you can be able to see that the center of learning here are the students or the learners. Now, let us proceed to social learning theory by Albert Bandura. Since we're talking about social learning, you might want to observe a child, a toddler, wherein they keep on imitating whatever is whatever show that they were able to watch in YouTube or in the television. They will dance, they will sing, they will imitate as if acting like an adult. No, so that is social learning actually. No, they look into certain models, they look into what is happening and then imitate them. So, in the social learning, emphasizes the importance of observing and modeling the behaviors, attitudes, and emotional reactions of others. That's the reason why yung mga kinder ng teacher, no? Yung mga kinder ng teacher, yung mga teachers ng kinder, usually mga bata sila, di ba? Magagaling sumayaw, newly grad, kadalasan. Because sila yung magiging model ng mga kinder, di ba? And that's why you might hear your children, your sisters or brothers that will tell you na, ay gusto ko katulad ako ni teacher, gusto ko nakapuyo din akong ganito, gusto ko may bag din ako na pula, gusto ko ganito yung damit kasi ganito yung damit ni teacher. So that is social learning. Okay? They are observing and then they imitate the behavior. Okay? So in our case as teachers, so since that is the usual reactions of our learners, even in the high school or even at the college or kung saan ka man magiging teacher, we have to be, no, we have to show the best behavior possible from us. Why? Because they're imitating our behavior. Okay? So they are imitating our attitude. They are imitating our emotions. So if the teacher is not a role model himself or herself, then what kind of students will be formed at the end, right? So that is actually a challenge. So explains human behavior in terms of continuous reciprocal interaction between cognitive, behavioral, and environmental influences. So cognitive is the mind, behavioral is the behavior, and environmental influences are anything that could affect cognitive formation and then the behavioral formation. So these are the components and processes underlying observational learning. First, the learner will perform this first process, which is attention. Includes model events and observer characteristics. So they're getting the attention. Let's say, for example, learners in the these pupils in the kinder. So the teacher will model. Let's say the teacher will dance. Okay, so retention, the learner will use symbolic coding, cognitive organization, symbolic rehearsal, motor rehearsal, so that the dance steps done by the teacher will be retained by them. And then after that is the imitation of the movement. So that's why it is motor reproduction. So includes physical capabilities, self-observation of reproduction, and accuracy of feedback. So, in the last step is the motivation that includes external, vicarious, and self-reinforcement. So, for motivation that depends on the kind of learners that you have, no? So there are learners who can be able to get external motivation or self-reinforcement or vicarious and so on. So these are the general principles of social learning theory. So people can learn by observing the behavior of others and the outcomes of those behavior. So ito yung binabanggit ko kanina, no? So we have to be at in our best behavior possible. Learning can occur without a change in behavior. There could be learning, no? There could be they learn a new content, new topic, but there could be without, no, without a change in behavior. Cognition plays a role in learning, and social learning can be considered a bridge or a transition between behaviorist learning theories and cognitive learning theories. So let us now proceed to cognitivism. Cognitive development of the mind, and anything that is produced by it. So the psychology of learning, which emphasizes human cognition or intelligence as a special endowment enabling man to form hypotheses and develop intellectuality. It involves examining learning, memory, problem-solving skills, and intelligence. Okay, so as teachers, we have to be very good in our own cognitive development. And when we give activities to our students, it should target memory, no, and problem-solving skills of your students. So do not just tell them to answer a certain activity, without you telling them what's the purpose of it, without you checking it in front of them so that they can be able to learn more as you check the activity. So these are the factors that influence learning. Cognitivism, like behaviorism, emphasizes the role that environmental conditions play in facilitating learning. So in that context, so we have to analyze the term environmental or environmental conditions because as stated here, it plays a role in facilitating learning. So what are these environmental conditions? So anything that are happening, outside that could affect your students. Okay, so for example, students can learn more when they are in a not crowded place. Let's say the number of students in one classroom is only 25 or 30 versus with the same size of classroom, there are 50 to 60 students. So that's one, environmental conditions. Let's say the heat in the room, no? So may mga room na not properly ventilated. Okay, so and other things. So these are environmental conditions. So instructional explanations, demonstrations, illustrative examples, and much non-examples are all considered to be instrumental in guiding student learning. Okay, so it includes demonstration. So there could be a demo teacher, illustrative and much non-examples, and then instructional explanation. So in these pandemic times, just like what we are doing, the teachers keep on producing video lesson, which are considered to be as instructional explanations. So similarly, emphasis is placed on the role of practice with corrective feedback. So when we give feedback, it should be corrective. Um, it should be what do you call that? You are targeting to give feedback to correct it. You are giving feedback so that the work will become better at the end. So learners' thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, and values are also considered to be influential in the learning process. Of course, no? What are the thoughts of your learners? What are the beliefs? What are the attitudes? What are the values? So one thing, that I can tell is that um, the students should be properly motivated to learn. They should have dreams. They should believe that one of the keys to become successful someday is to gain knowledge through formal education setting. So the real focus of the cognitive approach is on changing the learner by encouraging him or her to use appropriate learning strategies. So what now are the classroom implications? So when creating and implementing a learning environment, it is imperative that the teachers not only create a setting that promotes learning, but also take the time to understand each child. So it's not only about the physical environment that we are talking, no? Let's say, makulay ba yung pintura, wala bang mga dagmang, wala bang kalat yung room, walang mga nakasabit, maayos ba yung pagkaka-arrange ng mga upuan, wala bang alikabok. Part yun, but that's considered to be as physical. And in this statement, it is being said that we should also learn, what kind of learners do we have and understand this kind of learner. So As I mentioned before, if you have 50 students, then you have 50 kinds of students with different needs, with different personalities. Teachers who properly manage their classrooms and establish expectations will be able to incorporate diverse teaching philosophies and create an excellent learning environment for each student. So aside that we are instructional leaders, so we teach our students, we also manage them. So that's another function of us. So we have to incorporate diverse teaching philosophy. So when we speak of diverse, we are utilizing a lot, no, a lot of these teaching philosophies. Do not just focus in one philosophy, no. So there are a lot of teaching philosophy that you can be able to to use in order to facilitate learner-centered teaching. And it is important that teachers create a learning environment that encourages students to do their best and makes learning interesting. This creates a motivational climate within the classroom. Okay, so, and I would agree to this, no? Just imagine a student who's having a problem at home will have the same problem when they went to the school. So that means, kung magulo yung bahay nila, namang problema na siya, pagdating ng school, magulo din yung school, no? Magulo din yung room nyo. So how can they be motivated in learning if there is no difference between the home and the school? Well, of course, in another context, pwede din naman magkatulad. If the home is friendly, then the school should also be friendly. But if the home is not that friendly, then the school should be friendly, not on the same context as that of the home of the child. So aside from that, there should be a lot of things that are going on inside, so that they will be motivated. No, so there are a lot of things that you can do to motivate your students to learn. So it's up to you. It is up to your creativity and resourcefulness in order to do so. So teachers should carefully assess the current stage of a child's cognitive development and only assign tasks for which the child is prepared. The child can then be given tasks that are tailored to their developmental level and are motivating. Though in our setup, no, it is expected that when you are in grade 1, these are your capability. When you're grade 2, these are capability. When you're in high school, grade 7 up to 12, these are your stage of development. However, though it is in general, no, but we have to realize also that there are cases when even though they are both, let's say they are all 18 years old, so there are cases that the mental development of the learner is still for 10 or 15 years old. So that's the reason why whenever we give activities, we give an easy activity, an average activity, and a difficult activity. So expect that everyone can be able to answer the easy activity, but not all can answer the average and difficult activity. So teachers must provide children with learning opportunities. So that's what I'm saying a while ago, that enable them to advance through each developmental stage. So this is achieved by creating this equilibrium. Teachers should maintain a proper balance between actively guiding the child and allowing opportunities for them to explore things on their own, to learn through discovery. So discovery approach is one of the approaches in facilitating learner-centered teaching. So teachers should be concerned with the process of learning rather than the end product. So there are cases kasi when we always look into the final product, no, but in a learner-centered teaching, you have to look into the process, okay? Because we can be able to produce product, but the process is not the ideal process that we would like them to do. So for example, the teacher should observe the way a child manipulates Play-Doh instead of concentrating on finished shape. So when you ask your students to do problem solving, do not just focus on the final answer. You have to look into the steps that they have taken in order for them to arrive in the final answer. So that's the point in this first statement, no? So focus on the process rather than the end product. Do not just always look at the end product, no? Like for example, oh, congratulations, you made it. You have received with highest honor award. Walang problema, but you have to look into the processes that the child have undertaken for them to achieve such, no? So children should be encouraged to learn from each other. So in facilitating learner-centered teaching, we are not the source of information, but they can learn from each other. So hearing other views can help break down egocentrism. That's correct. It is important for teachers to provide multiple opportunities for small group activities. So that means now you have to assign group, you have to assign partners. No, do not just focus on individual activity, but there should be a lot of group activities because part of the learning and facilitating learner-centered teaching is that they have to learn from each other. So Piaget believed that teachers should act as a guide to children's learning processes and that the curriculum should be adapted to individual needs and developmental level. So that's why, as I mentioned before, if you have 50 students, you have 50 individual students, you have 50 different kinds of students, and each should be approached individually. So just imagine that. Now, for constructivism, students learn new things through experience. So ito naman yun. No? Yes, it is saying that they said that it is the best teacher is experience. So they build knowledge through experiences in interactions. In cognitive learning, the students are taught to do something in constructivism. So that's why the term is constructivism. So the students build, you know, they have different activities. Then they are being taught on how to build their own knowledge using these different activities. Okay. So the major difference is that cognitive learning is about building on prior knowledge. Constructivism is about building new ideas and concepts based on your own discoveries. Though there is this negative part in constructivism wherein yes, we can ask our students to build their own knowledge. They can build new ideas, but what if the kind of students that you have do not possess such skills of producing their own knowledge? So there will be conflict there. So you cannot force this. There are a lot of choices that you can give their students so that there will be learner-centered teaching. And then if they are already somehow developed, no, so you can infuse now constructivism as one of your approaches. So these are the principles of constructivism. So knowledge is constructed rather than innate or passively absorbed. Learning is an active process. Okay, so all knowledge is socially constructed. All knowledge is personal. Learning exists in the mind. So these are the principles, no? So these are the features. Knowledge will be shared between teachers and students. So we are not the only source of knowledge, but they can share knowledge also with the students, students among them, no? So teachers and students will share authority. So, di ba? In a subject-centered design, the one in authority are the teachers. But in this case, teachers and students will share authority. So the teacher's role is one of a facilitator or a guide. So learning groups will consist of small numbers of heterogeneous students. So one solutions to the problem that I told you a while ago is that even though the class is not that the class may not be able to do this because majority of them are slow learners, but you have to look into the fast learners in your class and then make the groupings heterogeneous. There should be fast learners, there should be slow learners, average, and so on. So with that, let us now proceed to your activity. So you do this activity so that you'll be practiced. No, yeah, you can be able to to learn about these topics that I have discussed a while ago. So law of exercise, no, so that it can be retained. So you have to practice it. So differentiate behaviorism, connectionism, cognitivism, and constructivism using a graphic organizer. So it could be behaviorism and connectionism first, then connectionism and cognitivism, behaviorism and connectivism. So it's up to you. So as long as you can be able to differentiate all of this. So after that, enumerate 10 learning activities or processes that you have experienced during high school or college days and classify them as behaviorism, connectionism, cognitivism, and constructivism. And then you have to explain why did you choose, let's say, learning activity number one. So you will classify it as connectionism. Then you have to explain why, right? So for our reference, and then thank you so much for watching this video tutorial. So I hope to see you again. Goodbye.